Hey guys, Kat with Bountiful Blessings Homestead, and today we are going to make grape jelly. Now, grape jelly, this is the only jar that we have left in our pantry, which is a problem because my husband loves this grape jelly, and I've also had it requested from other family members. My daughter wants some at her house. My son-in-law eats it like crazy. This is the easiest grape jelly, and this was the first thing that I learned to can. So it's very simple, not very many ingredients, and I'm going to share with you how to make it today. So the first thing you need is, well, it's just grape juice. So this isn't even made with actual grapes. It's made with grape juice, so it's already compressed for you. You use the 100% juice, so you don't want the sugar added. And you are going to use any kind of juice you want, but I'm going to use the grape juice to start out with. I'm going to try some other flavors a little later. You're going to need your pectin, and the pectin is what makes it gel up. So you're going to need pectin. It used to be in these packages that it was easier to find. Sometimes you can't find it in these packages, and you have to find it in a larger container. If you find the larger container, it does have a conversion on the back that'll tell you how many tablespoons of pectin would equate to one of these packages of pectin. And then we need sugar, pure cane sugar. So that's all the ingredients. You are going to need some other items. Of course, you're going to need your empty canning jars. I'm going to be doing mostly pints today. I happen to have some that have the little grapes on them, so that's kind of fun. But these are half pints actually, and then I have pints and I have quarts. So for these, I'll probably use the half pints, and then these little tiny ones are a quarter pint. These are really fun to put into a gift basket for Christmas or a birthday or anything like that. So you could tie a little ribbon around them and a little tag, and then you have a little gift. So housewarming gift, these would be great for that. I was thinking my realtor friends might want to use something like this, that they could tie a little ribbon around it and part of a housewarming gift. So, and then you'll need your tools. So if you don't have this tool, this is your jar grabber. You're going to need that to actually grab your jar and put it in and out of the hot water. You're also going to need this nifty little tool. This is a magnet that picks up the lids out of the hot water so you don't burn your hands. And when we get ready to fill, you're going to need a ladle and a funnel. So we will make sure we have all of our tools, and then we will look at our pots here. So we have this pot, which we will actually be making the jelly in. I have this pan back here boiling with, will be boiling with water to sanitize the lids. And then this is our canner, and it has all of our jars in it right now. And that is keeping our jars warm. And the reason for that in the hot water is because if you try to pour your hot jelly directly into a cold jar, it could make your jar crack or explode. So you want to make sure you're putting warm hot jelly into a warm jar. So some people don't put them in their canner. You can also put them in the warm setting in your dishwasher if you want to do that in the heated dry session. But if you do it this way, you can sanitize them at the same time that you're heating them up. So it's a kind of a cheat to get 2 out of 1. So I'm going to start measuring out things, and then I'll take you through that process. Okay, we're going to start with our grape juice. We need 6 cups of grape juice. So it's going to use the majority of this container, but not the whole thing, just the majority of it. So you should have a little bit left in your container when you get done. This is the 64-ounce container of grape juice. So all right. So there's our 6 cups of juice. And then this is how much I have left just below that paper cover. So I'll save that. Either I'll drink it with my breakfast or I will use it another time. Okay, and then we are going to let this, hello dog. We're going to let this start cooking down. And what we want is we want to get it so that it is coming to a boil. Okay, and we want it to come to a boil to the point where when we stir it, it will not bounce back. Or I beg your pardon, it will bounce back. So we want to continue to boil through our stir. So I have this cranked up pretty high. We're going to let this go. Now you'll notice that I'm working on a electric stove. And my preference for canning would be to work on a gas stove. However, this is what I have. So you just have to be careful when you are heating things, when you're canning, just like when you're doing candy making with an electric stove. You have to be careful that you do not heat things up to a point where you can't heat them, turn them down, because they will heat up and then you won't be able to get the heat down, and you will sometimes scald your liquids. So you want to be careful with that. All right, so we are going to, this is starting to boil. We're going to add our pectin, and then we're going to heat it up to a rolling boil that we cannot stir through. So as we add our pectin, I took it out of the box. So we have one package here. It says right on the box, if you read the label here at the bottom of the box, I don't know if you can see that or not. But right down here, it has a little chart, and it says if the cooked recipe is for 1 box of Sure-Gel and 7 cups of sugar. We're using 7 cups of sugar, so we need 1 cup of Sure-Gel. So 1 box of Sure-Gel, rather. So we're going to open this up, and we're going to sprinkle it across the top. And the reason I'm sprinkling it like this is because I don't want to just dump it all in. If I dump it all in one spot, then it's going to clump up. And we don't want it to clump, because then we have to work harder at trying to get it to work itself down. Now, another thing that will happen a lot of times when you're making jelly is that it will foam up as it's boiling. And so in order to prevent the foam from happening, we're going to add a tablespoon of butter. And all that's going to do is prevent it from foaming up. So we're just going to stir this around, make sure the pectin gets worked in good. I could already hear it trying to start rolling boil, but I want to get the pectin worked in really well. You don't want to stir it like whisking at this point, because if you do, then you'll get a lot of froth. I'm going to grab my tablespoon of butter and add that in so that I can avoid having a lot of froth. Okay, so we'll just put that in there. And we're just going to keep kind of stirring back and forth, cooking down the pectin into the juice and allowing it to start to boil. Now, this is probably going to take about 5 minutes, 10 minutes maybe, depending on the heat on your stove, for it to get to a point where it's at a rolling boil that you cannot stir through. So I'm going to turn off the camera, get to that point. Once I get to that point, I'll come back and show you what it looks like, and then we will add in our sugar. Okay, so we've got a nice rolling boil going on here. If I stir through this, it continues to boil, so I'm good to go there. Now I'm going to add my sugar, and we're going to add seven cups of sugar. This is a half a cup, so 1, 2, I'm going to need 14 of these. 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to stir that a little bit just to kind of get that sugar dissolved in. That's 3 cups. And I'll need 4 more, so. Okay. So there's 1 more cup. 2 more cups. 3 more cups. And 4 more cups. All right, so we have all of our sugar. So now we are going to stir in the sugar. And again, we're just going to go back and forth in kind of an S motion. We don't want to stir too vigorously because if we do, then we're going to cause it to froth. Even with the butter in there, the butter is going to help. But we don't want it to froth up because if you get it frothy, then you have to remove the froth at the end of your boiling session before you can put it in the cans or the jars before you can can it. So this is really all there is to it. So now we're going to wait for it to get up to a rolling boil again. And once we get it up to a rolling boil again, where it is at a rolling boil and we cannot stir through it, once we get up to that point, then we will let it boil at that level for about a minute. And then we can take it off the heat and proceed to fill up the jars. I'm going to turn this off so that we're not cooking anything as far as our jars and lids go. I just wanted to get them warm. And I had already sanitized my jars. They went through the dishwasher and were already sanitized. So I don't really need to get them up to a boil in that water. But if you had not, if you had just opened up a fresh case, or especially if you buy your jars from like Marketplace or Craigslist or something, and you need to get, make sure that they are, a little piece of pectin floating there, and you want to make sure that they are sanitized, you definitely are going to want to bring them to a full boil up here in your canning pot because they need to be completely sanitized. You want everything really clean. You know, back in the day, they would say that people were dying from botulism, from, you know, cans that didn't seal correctly or bad food in cans. And part of that whole thing is making sure, of course, we want the seal to seal completely, but we also need to make sure that we are having everything sanitary as we're canning. So that's another big part of it. All right. And you probably can't see, maybe you can, right over in here, you can see it's kind of a shimmery, shiny top coat. That's just from the butter. So it's just keeping everything from frothing up and gumming up. So shouldn't be too much longer, and this will be boiling. So as soon as it gets to that point and it's ready to be taken off of the stove, I will bring you back. This is our nice rolling boil, okay? And we're just going to stir through it and make sure that we continue to have a boil while we're stirring. And if that's the case, then we can take it off the burner and start canning. Okay, so my jelly is ready. I'm going to take it off the heat here. And I have pulled all of my glass jars. They're still very warm. Pulled them out of my canner. And I've got the canner turned back on, so the water's starting to boil, or will be boiling shortly. So it'll be ready for the cans the jars are going to be canned. So I have my funnel here, and I'm just going to take my ladle, and I'm just going to put this in here. Now, it doesn't look like jelly, right? Because it's liquidy, and I'm going to give myself about a 1/4 inch head space here. Okay. But if you look at the spoon here, you can see that it has gelled up as it's turned into room temperature. So we will be good to go. All right. So Okay, we will do this with all of our jars. And then after we get all of our jars filled, I'll show you, we want to make sure that everything's clean around the edges. Get a little more in here. Okay. And what we're going to do is, we're going to take, I just take a damp paper towel. Some people like to use vinegar on theirs, and that's fine too. Just make sure we're clean all the way around the edges. We're going to take our handy dandy little tool. It's got the magnet on the bottom, and we're going to pull up one of our lids out of our warm water here. We've been keeping them warm. That'll help that ring to soften up so they'll seal well. And we're just going to sit that on top of there. We're going to grab one of our sanitized rings, put it on top of here. We're going to need one of these because this jar is hot now. It's got that really boiling hot jelly in it, okay? I'm going to hold that, and we're just going to turn this fingertip tight. So as tight as you can get it with your fingertips, but you don't want to over tighten it, okay? So we're going to do that with the rest of our jars, and then when we get done with that, we'll come back and I'll tell you what we need to do for canning. Okay, so we have everything put in our cans, finger tight. Got 11 half pints of grape jelly out of that recipe. Now we need to can them and seal them so that they are shelf stable. So if you've not used a canner like this before, this is a canner that can be used for water bath or for pressure canning. So for water bath canning, there is a little hole right here across from this release, and it has this little black rubber piece stuck inside it. You want to pull that out. This is going to give it a little pressure release. We're not going to use the weight that comes on the top because that's for pressure canning. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to use our gripper like so. We're going to set these in. I do have a tray in the bottom, so they're not directly on the bottom. You don't ever want them to be directly on the bottom of the pot. A lot of them, especially the older ones, came with a rack for them. This one did not. But it does have a plate on the bottom that you set your jars on so that they are not sitting directly on the bottom of the pot of water. Okay, so we're just going to put these in here. And they literally only have to water bath can for 5 minutes. And you just need to make sure that the water is up over the top of them. They say by 2 inches, but usually if you have it, at least up over the top of the lids and they're covered well, that's pretty much all you need. But they say 2 inches in the directions, so when you go to can. So this is water bath canning again. I'm going to put these in here. I have one more to fit in. And I think I can make them all fit. Look at that, beautifully. Okay, so then we're going to put the lid on, like so, and then we're going to turn it and lock it. Okay, so the handles are lined up. And we're going to do this for 5 minutes. At the end of 5 minutes, we're going to pull them back out and we're going to put them on our cooling rack. They're going to sit here, and my dogs are having a fight. They're going to sit here and cool overnight. I'm literally going to leave them sit here on the counter overnight. And hopefully throughout the evening, I'm going to hear ping, 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 because that's what you want to hear. That means that your seals are sealing well. So that's all there is to it. It's not a hard recipe. It just takes a little time to do, but you will taste the difference. It is delicious jelly. And it's a lot more economical than buying jelly in the stores. So when you put the ingredients together, you're probably paying about half of what you pay for processed jelly. And that processed jelly has a lot of preservatives and things in it that aren't good for our bodies. So this is much more natural and better for us. So I hope you enjoyed a lesson in making grape jelly from Welch's grape juice. And until the next time, from Bountiful Blessings Homestead, be blessed and be a blessing.